I'm so happy they brought back the orange vanilla freeze from Taco Bell. It's been years. And this is like the best freeze. It's like a creamsicle. It's so yummy. Hello friends and lovely people of the interwebs. It is I, your girl, Layla here, and today we are going to be talking about my September reading wrap-up and my October hopeful. Because it is spooky season, I am dressed accordingly. Good thing I like my friends canceled. Karaoke was earlier. I'm just Taylor on the brain. I don't even know what order I'm doing this in. Help. I'm no longer at the restaurant. I am still at the restaurant. That's a lie. We're just gonna do this in the easiest way possible, I guess. These are all the physical books that I read. There is a duplicate, so like, you know, just one less than this pile, but still a lot. I read 14 books. Looking at my StoryGraph graphic that I have just on my phone, I read 14 books, 5,602 pages, and my average rating was 3.93. I have this pile, but I also have like the list of the books in the order that I read them. So I think I'm going to go over them that way, if that makes sense. Like, I guess, like, it does make sense. I'm the one who like makes the rules here. But chronological order is always easier. The very first book that I finished in the month of September was the last book in the main Zodiac Academy series, which is Restless Stars, book 9. Maybe I should pull up my Goodreads. That way I can have like all my thoughts like in front of me. I rated this 4.25 stars. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I liked this book as much as I liked the other books in the series. It was just getting to the point where it was really dragging out and it needed to end, you know, with a TV show when there's seasons upon seasons and things just don't really start making sense. That's kind of how this felt. And at the very end of book 8, there was something that happened and I didn't like it, and it took me forever to get through this book. I am so glad that I read it because I loved this series. It is like one of my new top favorite series now. But with that being said, I still feel like I can critique it. The last book is also tonally different and the pacing is kind of strained. I just, you know, I'm really glad that I read it. It is not perfect by any means, but it is such a good time. And there are certain books that are 5-star reads. They all end on like crazy cliffhangers, so you're like rushing to get to the next books. I like the relationships in them. Yes, it starts off as a bully romance, but by the time that the books progress, I love seeing how the relationships like between all the characters come together. I still do have Darkmoor Penitentiary and The Sins of the Zodiac. I did want to take a break from that because I have a bunch of books that I put off in lieu of finishing that, and there are still like 5-7 books with, I think there's 5 in Darkmoor, and there's the 2 Sins of the Zodiac book. The next book that I read is This Real or Just Pretend by Emily Sullivan. I read it as an ARC. It did release in September. It is a Regency/historical romance. I really liked it. I am also a really big fan of historical and Regency romance. This was also the perfect palate cleanser after reading like the heavy Zodiac Academy books. Is This Real or Just Pretend follows Alexandra Atkinson, which is the sister of Phoebe Atkinson from the book Duchess material. They are interconnected standalones and you don't have to read Duchess material to read Is This Real or Just Pretend? But I mean, if you want some more background character information, then it's good. I will say, this was just me, I didn't remember there being a third sister in Duchess material, so I was kind of confused where things were going. I don't know if that's just me or whatnot, I just don't remember it, but I just also feel like the conflict in this was a lot of miscommunication. So for that reason, I rated it 3.75 stars and between 3.9 stars because I really did love this. But I just sometimes I cannot with the miscommunication trope. And I feel like there was a lot of it here. If you are like new to historical romance and Regency romance, this is like a good starting point. I love this series. I have another one I'm going to talk about later, which I think is my new favorite. Next up, I have an audiobook from the library, and that is The Coworker by Frida McFadden. Now, I love listening to thrillers and mysteries, especially Frida McFadden books. I love the way that everything plays out, and it almost feels like a podcast in a way, or like I like the story being told. I will say this too, the narrators for Frida McFadden's books are amazing and they do such a great job. I rated The Coworker 4 stars. I gotta be honest, with The Coworker, I had no idea which way things were going to turn out. Like, it was pretty insane. I was believing everything, and then by the time we got to the end and the big reveal, I don't want to say I lost my mind, but I was got good. I was got good by this book. Next up on the list, we have A Forbidden Alchemy by Stacey McEwen. And boy, Stacey, I am in agony after that cliffhanger, okay? 4.25 stars. I absolutely devoured this, ate this up. Let's also talk about how pretty this is with the sprayed edges. And I also love this detail. So the end paper art is the map. So fun. I did start A Forbidden Alchemy via audiobook with my friend Nikki as we were driving to Las Vegas, and we didn't finish it. And I also went on a wild goose chase for that book because like no bookstores had it in stock. I had to go to 3 different bookstores before I found it. Just saying. It is such a unique story. The plot twists were plot twisting. You would think that you knew how the characters were going to react or what was going on, and then your mind would just be blown. I like that we start with the FMC and MMC as they are children and then grow up to see how they mature and deal with the conflict. I'm trying not to spoil too many things. It's just, I really liked it. The vibes were almost giving Hogwarts, but also Six of Crows almost. But it was also giving Divine Rivals too. There's also one detail that I do love, and I don't think it's really a spoiler, but the very first line and the very last line of the book pay homage to each other, and it just ties it up so well. And I realized that when I finished that, and I was like, wow, this is a work of art, truly. I cannot wait till the second book releases. The next book that we have is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I rated this 5 stars. First 5-star of the month. As an eldest daughter, this was so cathartic to read. And this was not what I thought it was going to be. This may be my new favorite Emily Henry book. The only one I haven't read at this point is her newest one, Great Big Beautiful Life. But this just resonated with me in a way that I, wasn't... Not that I wasn't expecting, but I also had like a feeling I was going to love this, and boy, were my feelings correct. My main thoughts are I love this. Like, I have an emotional attachment to this book. This book, I will say, is one of those that reminds me of The Holiday in a way, because The Holiday is one of my favorite like rom-coms, Christmas rom-coms. This isn't a Christmas book. She is a businesswoman. She is very career oriented, and she is being dumped by her boyfriend for like the small town girl, and she's just like had enough and kind of is jaded at this point. She also has a sister, Libby, who is like her foil, very sunshine. Love her, and I love seeing Libby and Nora together too. Like, that was so much fun. I forget exactly which part it was, but this book did make me sob at one part. So yeah, if you haven't read this book by Emily Henry, please, I'm begging you, please read this. The next book that I read was a buddy read with my friend Audrey, and the book that we buddy read was Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher. I rated this between 2.75 and 3 stars because, hear me out, I love the author's writing style and her humor. She is so funny, and I thought I would have really liked this because it's about Robin Hood. However, I didn't like one of the female main characters. It is like a sapphic romance, and one of them just felt one-dimensional and flat. And quite honestly, I feel like she at times had more chemistry with the sheriff's son than she did with the other female main character, Clem. Absolutely love Clem. Love her to death. I loved her parts, and I laughed at some of her lines and like her quips, Clemisms. But Miriam, I didn't like her. I'm sorry. I wanted to, and I was hoping that she would like let more of her walls down. There are parts where she does let her walls down, but it's still very caged. It's still very caged. If I had liked the female main character more, I think I probably would have liked this book a little bit more, but yeah. I listened to 2 more audiobooks that I got from my library. The first one is The Wrong Lady Meets Lord Right, and the second one, which is by the same author and in the same series, and technically they are not interconnected standalones, but they are still in the same series. It is The Ladies Rewrite the Rules. I did rate both of these 3.75 stars, and I do have to say I'm glad that I listened to them via audiobook. If I had read them on Kindle or from the physical book, I don't know if I would have liked them as much. These 2 books are both romantic comedies and historical fiction / Regency books. I do love, you know, as I said, historical fiction and romantic comedies, especially period pieces, are great. I loved The Importance of Being Earnest as a play when I was in high school. It almost reminded me of The Importance of Being Earnest. Sometimes the characters' actions were a little bit too silly, goofy for me, but otherwise, like, it was a fun time and a fun listen. I really liked it. For The Ladies Rewrite the Rules, I should have trusted the process because at first I was very skeptical of how things are going to play out, but I did end up really liking the end. What I did like about this second book is that there were more romances than just the FMC and MMC, but like several romances like surrounding the book, and like the found family aspect is so good. I love a good found family trope, and The Ladies Rewrite the Rules had a lot of good found family, if I do say so. Yeah, I definitely recommend though doing those 2 on audiobook if you can. The next book that I read is another arc, and it is The Fairy Morgana by Louisa Morgan. I rated this 3.5 stars. This book is a tale that is inspired by Camelot and like King Arthur and the Round Table and Morgan Le Fay, who is one of my favorite characters to read about, like, of all time. I rated this 3.5 stars. I really did enjoy it. It was really vibey. It was a good time. The only thing is I feel like the pacing was really slow, and I just wanted to hurry up and finish the book because I just wanted to read a book really quickly, and I wasn't able to get through that fast. It felt like it just never ended. But it was a really good book, and if you're in the mood for something vibey, definitely check that book out. We are getting there. I promise. I'm trying to like hurry up. I apologize. It's just kind of hard when I have so many books because I want to talk about them all and I want to give them their like due and credit and talk about them more. If you have any questions or would like to know more about any books, let me know down in the comments and we can talk about them. However, the next book that I read is Immortal Consequences by Ivy Marie. I have 2 copies here. One is this gorgeous Fairy Loot edition. Stunning. And the other one is my Book of the Month edition. Also stunning. I love some pink edges. I also think that these 2 look really good together. Absolutely love them. Perfect for fall, like the perfect vibes. Yeah. I did rate this 4.25 stars. Honestly, I feel like I should have rated this higher and I don't know why I didn't, but I'll read you my review. So I rated this 4.25 stars. This was such a fun time for the author's debut, it was fantastic. This is like a mix of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire mixed with the Hunger Games in a dark academic setting. While I found certain moments a little cheesy and insta-lovey, yeah, that's probably why I rated it a little bit lower. I did ultimately really enjoy it, and 3/4 of the way in, this had me sweating with how high the stakes were, which is so true. Like, this was like super high stakes. Yeah, it's like the Goblet of Fire and the Hunger Games. And when I say it's like the Goblet of Fire, it's like the vibes of the school and like the way that they did the trials was very Goblet of Fire-esque. It was a little cheesy at times, but I also really loved the ending, and I thought that this was a really strong debut. I cannot wait to read the second book. Like, I know I've said that like a few times now, but I do think that this is very much worth your time to read if you're looking for something spooky and like gothic, dark academia vibey. This is like, honestly, in fall time, the perfect time to read this book. Like, the vibes are there. This next book that I read is also one of my favorite books that I read this year, and it is Ne'er-do-Well by Alexandra Vasti. I had read Earl Crush, which is the second book in this interconnected standalone series, which you can read them out of order, but if you want to know more about like the characters in the background, like, definitely read them in order. Guys, this may be like my new favorite historical romance book series. This book set the bar so high. I immersive read this, so I got the audiobook from the library, and I've had this book physically, and I just... Selena Ravenscroft, the woman that you are. Peter Kent, the man that you are. Both of them are such great characters, great characterization. There was like, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. The issues that they had were legit. And it was like, I wonder how they're actually like going to get through this. And I just really enjoyed this, and I love the way that they came together, and I love this book so much. I also loved all the characters in this book, no matter big or small. They were pretty well fleshed out, and the plot was unique for most historical romance Regency books that I've read. So yeah, I definitely recommend this. This like set the bar again so high, and this is probably, after the Bridgerton series, my favorite historical romance series. And I haven't read like so many books in the genre, but I feel like I've read a decent amount because I really like to read historical romance and like contemporary romance, but like I love historical romance because Bridgerton is one of my favorite shows, and I just love a good period piece. So yeah, I really love this. This is my favorite series after Bridgerton. I don't know, does it compete with Bridgerton? Maybe. Actually, that's like a wild claim for me to make. But again, this book particularly was so well done. I don't think that I could recommend this book enough. This next book is a book of the month pick, and it is one of the books that was highly anticipated for me, and it is Alchemy of Secrets by Stephanie Garber. This is one, in my review it says I have to sit with this one, and I still fear I'm sitting with it. I rated this 3 stars, and I cannot tell if this is stupidly brilliant or brilliantly stupid, and that is really harsh because Once Upon a Broken Heart is one of my favorite book series of all time. I love Caraval, maybe not as much as Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I still love it. I loved the vibes of this book. It was set in modern day Hollywood, but this is also like the perfect Halloween read as it takes place on Halloween. It's also really short, so I will give it that. I love a good short book. I read this in one sitting. I'm going to again read you my review though, because my thoughts are more concise and to the point. This is one of those that I know people are really excited for, so I don't know. I don't want to discourage anyone from reading it. And obviously, like, I am such a small creator that it does not matter in the grand scheme of things what I say. But, you know, who knows? The concept is there, and I didn't dislike it as it had Garber's quintessential whimsical and dreamy feel, but some of the plot lines felt completely random and thrown in. I also have so many questions about the characters, as they all seem to be bad, but only one semi-fully explained that they were, and like what their motives were, and like also what did her sister do. Also, why is like every male she meets a love interest? I don't understand the time loop, which felt random. Again, the vibes were there, and it was giving whimsy Alice vibes meets The Blonde Identity meets spooky Hollywood glam. Do we also know if this is a standalone? Because I feel like this 100% needs another book to explain things that happen, or maybe like an interconnected standalone with the sister. And then like I did add this little note, and I'm adding it here because I, you know, obviously feel this way, but I am well aware that this seems like I'm full on bashing the book, but I need more answers than this book gave. LOL. Because it's true. There's like so much going on in this book without spoiling it, and I feel like if you're one of those people that needs things answered, this book may not be for you, because there's a lot of things that go on and absolutely nothing gets answered. There are like a couple of things that get answered, but not nearly enough things get answered, okay? Because like her sister is a big part of the book, and it's giving The Blonde Identity. If you know that book, you know the plot. Think of this book like with a similar plot. This book is a mind fuck. Again, I don't know. I didn't hate this book by any means. I do love Stephanie Garber's writing style. I wanted a little bit more. I wanted to understand. I wanted everything to make sense. Maybe I'm just asking for too much. The next book, and the second to the last book, is The Crash by Freida McFadden. Again, an audiobook. I rated this 3.0 stars, just 3 stars. I don't know why I like started with that. But yeah, this was very much more of a psychological thriller than most of her books have been. And it had me cringing with some of these characters' antics. And the end and the twist at the end didn't really get me. But it was a fun read and a fun listen. I'd just be aware and be warned, there are some parts where you may cringe and be like, no, that's so wild, that's so crazy. And like the whole plot of this book, and like most Freida books, is wild and crazy. Like, yo, that's insane. I just remember listening to this and being like, I cannot actually. It was a fun listen, but definitely like not my favorite of Freida's books so far. The last book that I had was an arc, and I DNF'd it, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it because it's kind of not fair, but it was The Second Death of Locke by V.L. Bovalino, and it just wasn't for me. I will say just like the brief reasons. I couldn't really connect personally to the female main character, and I just didn't understand why things were going the way they were. I have like a long dissertation as to why I didn't like this book, and I'm not going to share it here. I also have a video on my TikTok about it that I made because I did pull this out of the TBR jar, and I was so excited to read this, but it just was not for me. Oh, I'm sorry, one more book. Okay, so the very, very last book that I read is The Fine Print by Lauren Asher from the Dreamland Billionaire series. This is the Fairy Loot edition. I took the dust jacket off. I'm sorry, it's like so late that I'm getting kind of tired and losing my mind just a little bit here. But I took the dust jacket off because I didn't want to get ruined, but I really love this. It's a castle. I am the exact target demographic for this book as a Disney adult. I rated this 4.5 stars. It was so emotionally impactful for me. The writing was okay at times, but I really loved all the characters in this. They were so well written and very lovable. There was a part at the end that made me cry a little bit, just as it was a little emotionally impactful for me, and I don't want to spoil the book, so I won't say what it is. But as somebody who's friends with Disney cast members, and I know their struggles, and this essentially is an allegory for Disneyland or Disney World, the ending took me out because it made me think of my friends, and I just wish them nothing but the best. Cast members are the true magic at the Disney parks, and honestly, the parks wouldn't be as magical if it weren't for that. This book reiterated that sentiment, and I loved it. I did. So yeah, that was the 14 books and the 1 DNF. If I had to choose 4 of my faves, it would be Ne'er-Do-Quell by Alexandra Vasti, and it would also be Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So easy. I also really loved both Immortal Consequences and A Forbidden Alchemy. These are like my 4 favorite books if I had to choose to recommend out of all of them to you guys. All right, friends, so on to my hopeful. I'm going to make this as quick as possible. There are a lot of books here. Will I probably read all these books? Not really, because there are also some other books that I would like to read and potentially TBR jar picks, but we shall see. And I'll get into that like in a few once I like get through the books that I have here. First up, we have these books, and they are pretty much new releases except for one, and then there's still a book here that I don't have that is a new release that releases on Tuesday that I'm gonna have to pick up. I am trying my hardest to go on a book buying ban, but I do have a rule, and that is if there are like sequels to a series that I'm currently reading, I can. And the book that I would like to pick up is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I am a really big Ali Hazelwood fan. I don't know if I've actually talked about her books like enough, to be honest. I really love Ali Hazelwood. She's one of my favorite romance authors. I loved Bride so much. It was such a great book, and I was really hoping at the end of Bride that she would do a little sequel, and she did. So like this, I feel like is a worthy exception. I have Rewitched and Uncharmed by Lucy Jane Wood. They're both interconnected witchy standalones. Supposed to be like some cozy fantasy. And like, look at this. This looks very cozy, right? And like so cute. So I got these when I was at the bookish shop. I always every year try and read a couple like witchy fantasy romance books. I really love that like subgenre of like witchy romance books. I'm hoping to fill like that void this year with these 2 books. Then I also have 2 more books here that are like continuing series, and one of them is a Christmas book, so I may not read it, but I really want to read it because I've been like anticipating it. But the first book is Wild Card by Elsie Silver. I love Elsie Silver, her Chestnut Spring series, her Rose Hill series. This is the last book in the Rose Hill series. I am honestly a little surprised that I didn't read it as soon as it came out, but like I'm just like in the middle of so many books that sometimes it's so hard. So I definitely want to read this. I don't know, I have like so many books, but I really do want to read this. And then last up is the book I don't know if I'll be able to read because it's giving Christmas vibes, but it is The Gingerbread Bakery in the Dream Harbor series by Laurie Gilmore. I have really enjoyed Laurie Gilmore's books thus far, and are they like the best books I've ever read? No, but they're a very vibey good time, and this is about Annie and Mac, who have been like teased throughout the whole series. They're finally getting their romance, like, and I've been awaiting for this because they've been teased so much, and like every time a new book comes out, everyone's like, is it gonna be Annie and Mac? Is it gonna be them? And this is finally about them. So yes, I really want to read this, but it is giving Christmas vibes. Like, hello? It's giving Christmas. I don't know. Now moving on to the books that I'm currently reading or like about to start. This book I just started. It is A Rivalry of Hearts by Tessania Odette, and let me just say, I am 50 pages into this and I already know this is going to be one of my favorite books. It is a cozy romantasy, and it is set in like the Regency historical period. It's not like a place that we technically know, it's all made up, but I really like this so far. It's like rivals, and they're trying to win a contract for publishing books, and I don't know. I'm loving this so far. It is very early still, but I already know this book is gonna be one of my favorites. I pulled that out of the TBR jar, but I also pulled out Enchantress by Kaylee Smith, and this is perfect for this season, and it is a book of the month book, which I need to read more of. If I'm doing my calculations correctly, I need to read 5 books each in October, November, and December to catch up with my book of the month challenge. I am like so severely behind on it, and that is like the thing. I have like this list of books, and I want to do the TBR jar, and I have a bunch of book of the month books in the TBR jar, but I think I need to like really prioritize that. And I am just going through when I read my, trying not to drop this on my face, jeez. I think that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the books on Book of the Month that I can read for my challenge and go from like the very beginning of that. That way I don't like miss any books. And I'm gonna try and read 5 or like 4 after I read this one and see how it goes. I am excited to read this because I did read Phantasma, and was Phantasma my favorite book I've ever read? No, but it was a really fun time. This I have really high hopes for because a lot of people say that they like this more than Phantasma. This last book that I have here, I would really like to read it because initially when I first got this book, I'm like fall time in October would be the perfect time to read this book. And it is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. However, she chunky. She a big gal. This is the Fairy Loot edition. Pretty soon, once I get my September box, it'll be a whole year of having a Fairy Loot sub. So I think my next video I'm going to sit down and film is a deep dive of all the books that I've gotten from my sub this year and show you guys and go over like whether I've read them or not. So yeah, we'll see. Anyways, ideally I would get to this, but with that being said, I just really need to catch up with my Book of the Month books. So we shall see if I can. I do have 7 books here, and I've been averaging like 14 a month. But also with that being said, I do have arcs, a bunch of arcs, quite a few arcs if I'm being honest, that I need to read. So after these books and the Book of the Month books, my priority is to read and catch up on some arc. I also love October. I love the spooky vibe of books like The Witchy, and I love dark academia books and like stuff. I just wish, like so many people here, that I could be a full-time professional reader and like read the books that I want to read, you know? I mean, I guess full-time professional readers for the most part, unless they're like book influencers, would be people in like publishing and editing and stuff like that. And then again, they're not really reading books they particularly want to read unless like you're a high profile editor. Anyways, I'm like rambling now. This is my October physical TBR. Oh, this is so heavy. I also have Mate that is like not included on this, and also I did forget to also mention any audiobooks that I do get I will also read, because you know I only have a limited amount of time before I can read them. Like my library holds are like only 20 days max, so you know. I also didn't mention it, and I don't think that I will have time, but I would love to read Wild Reverence by Rebecca Ross. I do have it, and it's a Book of the Month book. However, she is a thick book, and I'm just trying to get through my Book of the Month challenge. That might be like, if I get ahead of my Book of the Month challenge, that I add that one in and read her, because I really loved the Divine Rivals, like the Letters of Enchantment. That is the name of that duology. I really liked that, and this is a prequel to that, so I obviously would love to read anything in that like same set world. I don't know the name of like this exact duology, but I did love A River Enchanted and A Fire Endless. Like Rebecca Ross just has such beautiful writing. I don't know, I love her. So yeah, those are the books that I read in September and the books that I hope to read this month in October. What books are on your TBR for this month? Let me know down in the comments and I would love to chat with you about it, you know? Maybe I should read that book too. I don't know. So many books, so little time. I want to read them all. I hope you guys have a lovely day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, friends!